How would you feel to have a book up on Amazon in the next 30 days? In this video, I'm going to break down what it is you can do to have your own book selling on Amazon. If you're new to the channel, my name is Bennett Schwartz and I'm a high performance coach. I work with people both personally and professionally. So if you're looking to have a richer life, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Writing books is one of those things that so many people have a passion to do, but for some reason they can't get themselves to do it. So in today's video, I want to break down what it is that you need to be doing in simple steps in order to make sure that you can start getting on track to write your book in the next 30 days. And don't forget to stay to the end where I give you the tips that I wish I learned before I started writing. I never thought of myself as a writer, and I for sure didn't want to write a book. And I was so scared that even if I would write a book, what would I name it? How would I make a cover? And how would I even sell it? But one day I was on a walk and I thought about, you know what? It would be really cool to have a book. And over the next couple of days, I started to just jot down different notes in my phone to really start to put things onto paper. And that is the first step that we need to start to focus on. When we have different ideas and we want to understand what it is we could do with them, we need to put them down somewhere. So for me, I went on my phone and just put them down in my notes. And I started making bullet points of different topics that I'd like to speak about. Over a couple of days, I started to get a bunch of different topics and I started to take different other posts that I'd made on social media or different things that I put together in order just to have everything in one spot. And it was the place where I like to just dump all my stuff. And by having that one place, I was able to start to think about different creative ideas of what it is that I really wanted to write about. For me, my book is on personal development and I really was passionate about that topic. So whatever your topic is, recognize that the first thing you want to do is you just want to be able to collect your ideas. Find a place that you can start to write down your ideas. Maybe it's in your email, maybe it's on your computer, maybe it's in your journal. But having a place to really consolidate everything is going to be the first step in order to make sure we have enough information to even write a book. The second thing you want to do is you want to start compiling that information and really start separating it into different categories. You don't have to figure out how many categories you need right now. In order just to put different concepts together is going to be able to help you be able to streamline more ideas when it comes to actually writing the text. And for me personally, I'm putting all my different ideas in one column and just the basic general group on the second column, just so I was able to see what I really had going on there. The third step was just taking those different concepts and really trying to find a thread between them. And by finding that thread, you would really start to find different chapters and different categories that you can start to break up. And if this is your first book, I wouldn't get too caught up about the different categories and making this perfect, but just recognize that the more information that we can get, the better off we're going to be. We could start to contemplate and think about how many chapters we want in our book and really start to format the way it is that we can start to have it. I ended up taking a lot of sticky notes with different topics or different chapters and just started putting things together and trying to see how could I make my book more organized based on the different ideas and concepts that I wanted to speak about. So starting with my big list, I got it down into smaller chapters and it had little bullet points by each one of them. Each bullet point was a bigger topic and I knew I could expound on it, but recognizing that I really wanted to be able to type it all down and really have the ideas prepared beforehand. So many times somebody will get to writing and they might even get writer's block, but recognizing that if we can start to just have a list of different ideas, it's going to help things flow a lot smoother. And don't worry, this is going to be the final way that our book's going to look. But in order for us to start moving forward, it's going to be really helpful for that next step of when we actually start to write the words. The next step that we want to focus on is recognizing we want to know how many words we want in our book. You see, that was something that I had no idea about. And the way authors try to write their books, not based on pages, it's based on the amount of words that you want in your text. Because if you think about it, there are different books that are different sizes and different pages have different amount of words on them. So when you're looking to maybe hire an editor or really to compile your text, recognize that the words is the thing that they're going to be looking for. And for me personally, I wanted to find a book that was easy for me to read. And for me to read a very easy book, it was going to be very beneficial for me to be able to write that many words. And I found out that there were about 30,000 words in that book. You might say, Ben, how do you know how many words there are? So honestly, I counted one page of the book. I counted how many words were on one of the pages and then just multiplied it by the amount of total pages that were in the book. Yes, there might be a little bit less because some pages aren't full and whatnot, but I took that into account and I was being more conservative about it. So for me, I knew that my goal was going to be 30,000 words. A standard book is somewhere between 50 and 60,000 words, but recognizing it doesn't really matter. It's all a preference to you in terms of what it is that you need to be doing. All of those books that people just try to carry on and they're repeating themselves very much. And for me, I just wanted to get a concise book straight to the point. So I knew that 30,000 was going to be my marker. And now I was able to set my goal. So if I had to write 30,000 words in 30 days, I was going to have to write about 1,000 words a day. For me, I knew I wasn't going to write every day and I committed to 5 days a week. And if I had the availability, I would do a 6 day. So I really wanted to write about 1,500 words a day and really just give myself some buffer zone just in case I did miss some days. And that's what I did. I scheduled every single morning to write 1,500 words no matter what. So when I was able to sit down and write each chapter, I was already able to flow in the moment and be able to allow myself to just write. There were a few days though that I did have some writer's block and I didn't really know what to write. But one of the pieces of advice that I got was that you just have to keep writing. So many people get stuck in their heads and don't know what to write. But if you could just start writing or typing, it could be really helpful to get over that writer's block, to allow yourself to keep moving forward and get back into the movement of things. After about 25, 26 days, I had my 30,000 words and I was ready to go. For me personally, I knew my grammar and my punctuation wasn't as strong. I knew that I wasn't going to be the one who was going to be editing the book. So I ended up hiring an editor on 𝗙𝗙𝗘𝗘, who is not sponsoring this video, by the way. And I really found a great editor to really work with in order to do those things for me. I knew I wanted the language to be different. I wanted to make sure that it was formatted correctly. So I hired somebody else to be able to help me out. And by going back and forth a couple of days, we were able to get the final copy ready. Throughout that time, I was constantly trying to think about a title for the book. And one day it just came to me, lost and found. I was able to find a friend of mine who was a graphic designer and really helped me design the cover of the book. The investment itself was probably between $4,000 and $5,000 with all the different editors that I had. But at the end of the day, now with AI, you could probably get away with it being a lot less. I ended up uploading it to Amazon and voila, I'm a published author. But there are a couple of things that I wish somebody would have told me beforehand. So here's a list of those. Number one, recognize whether you want to be doing self-publishing or you want to try to get hired by a publishing company. Yes, when you work with a publishing company, they might want to see the work. And I've heard stories of people creating deals, but then they're not really so thrilled with it, and they actually cancel the contract. So make sure you really know what you're getting yourself into. Also realizing when it comes to self-published, you do have the more control of your work and you really have that creativity, but just recognize you're not going to get as much engagement as opposed to being published by one of these big publishing companies. The second thing that I learned was that you shouldn't edit while you're going through the book. You see, so many times we have this itch to allow ourselves to do a chapter and then review the chapter and edit it while we're going through the book. I highly recommend going through the whole book first and then doing your edits. If there are things that you want to be adding or taking out, make little notes, but don't get stuck editing the book. So many times people don't end up finishing the whole book. They might get through a few chapters because they're constantly going back and editing it. And yes, there's never a time that it's going to be perfect. We have to recognize that if we could give ourselves a specific amount of time to just write the book, then go back and edit it, at least we're going to have the skeleton of what it is that we're looking for and allowing ourselves to be able to publish the book when it is ready. The third thing is recognizing that the name of the book and the cover of the book are pretty important. So start to look at different books that you read and really try to figure out the style and what it is that you want. I wouldn't force it and I would ask other people what they think of it, but recognizing that that is a lot of times more important. Just like when somebody's making a YouTube video, the thumbnail and the title are really, really important. So too on the book, the cover and the title of your book are going to be extremely important. The next thing is be realistic in terms of the financial aspect. So many people want to create a book and then all of a sudden they want to sell millions of copies. And I guess it could happen, but more realistically, you're probably not going to be selling millions of copies unless you have a huge following. For me personally, it wasn't about making money with this book. It was more just having a glorified business card so I could give to somebody if they were interested in ever working with me. Or if I just wanted to say thank you to somebody, I was able to give them a book. Be realistic in terms of what it is you're looking for, but also recognize there's so much more to do with pricing and whatnot. Then we can start to move forward and allow those things to happen and not get so upset if our book's not a #1 bestseller. And the last and final tip that I got that I found really, really helpful was have somebody you're writing the book for. If you can have a book that you're writing for one specific avatar, that's going to help you allow yourself to articulate the ideas that you want and to really express yourself in terms of helping one person. But what's ironic is that so many times we speak to one person, but we end up helping so many more people. So if you're having a little bit trouble in terms of who it is you want to write the book for, create an avatar, give the person a name, and allow yourself to do it for somebody else. For me personally, I was doing it for Dave and I had this right in front of my computer every day that I wrote. For me, I knew that if I could do it for Dave, and I was just speaking to Dave one-on-one and these were the pieces of advice that I would give to him, I would be so much better off. Writing a book is a lot of fun. It does take a lot of work and it does take commitment, but if you allow yourself and prepare yourself, I'm telling you, you'll be able to do it and you'll look back, you'll be so grateful that you have a book. If you have any questions about writing a book, make sure to put them in the comments below and let me know when you're going to start to write your book.